Today's podcast is brought to you in part by Real Marketing, the only marketing firm recommended exclusively by the Institute. Real Marketing utilizes over 25 years of expertise, and their products are built and customized for you to dominate any neighborhood, anywhere. Go to realmarketing4u.com. That's real marketing, the number 4, u.com. Also, look for past A State of Mind episodes with CEO David Collins as our guest. Jack, welcome back, and I'm delighted to have you join me as my co-host.
Thank you, Tami. Thank you so much.
So what about this major media messaging, right? What I am hearing, and a lot of folks are hearing, is the sky is falling. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the thing we have to remember is, just like we have a job, the media has a job. And although their job is to report the facts, their job is also to get ratings. And sometimes, depending on the media outlet, it's the getting the ratings becomes more important than the way the facts are shared. And so you have to remember the context of the particular platform that or the media that you're seeing. The other thing you have to keep in mind, I think, is that the market's cyclical. So even if today it feels like the sky is falling, well, it doesn't always go down, and it doesn't always go up. For any of us who've been in the market for several years, we've seen this. And so the real estate market's really no different than the stock market or anything else. I've done this for 25 years, and it was funny, early in my career, I only visualized the market going up. It felt like the real estate industry was somehow insulated, unlike other markets, but we're not. We're a market, just as I said earlier, like the stock market. So when the crash of '08 happened, it was a reality check. We realized, oh, wait a minute, real estate goes up and down, and then we see it come back up again. So I think it's important to keep it in the context, but then also to look at the source when we're evaluating the message coming from the media. I think that's very important.
Sure, and that is very kind of you to give credit where credit is due for the media. Not everybody does that, but I also think it's really important to know what we're comparing things to, don't you? The last 2 years have just been insane. So when we're talking about year over year changes, it's not really practical, is it? Shouldn't we be looking back at 2019, for example?
Well, yeah, I think very much so. We have to look at the big picture. And even when people talk about, how much sales have dropped off, for example, over the last 6 months, and they have, in our market, they have. And I think in most markets they've dropped off significantly. But then you have to look back over the past, 2, 3, or 4 years where sales in many markets, like here, have gone. We've seen the values of home appreciate 25% or more year after year after year. That's unheard of. That's particularly unheard of in a market like Nashville. We're not a major market like LA or New York, Miami or San Francisco. So we've seen this incredible growth. So again, even if the market does soften up, well, quite frankly, over the big picture, your investment's well protected, and our business, I think, is flourishing as well. We're just in that softer spot, and that's okay.
I agree. And so it's so important to choose words wisely, right? So when people are talking about a crash and price reductions, I think that it's just getting back to a normal rate of appreciation, which is
That's right.
overall a positive thing. The investment in real estate is still sound, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the word is very important. The words we use. I think agents, when they even something as simple as the words they use to describe a price reduction. I've seen a lot of agents say, for example, new price. I think that's wonderful to suggest new price, not price drop or price slashed, or so that those words that we use are important in the message we convey.
I agree, absolutely. And so when we talk about things slowing down, we still have the factor of lower inventory, right? So overall sales certainly have been impacted by availability, even still. But let me ask you, you had a rather spectacular sale recently. You closed on an $8 million property. So
Right.
that to me is telling me that the upper tier, particularly the extreme luxury, is not so much impacted by economic factors, right? So I don't know if the interest rates had anything at all to do with that transaction. But tell me what you're seeing from the higher end buyers and how they're reacting to economic changes.
No, that's a loaded question, and you can look at it from a lot of different angles. I would start back with COVID, for example. Prior to COVID, at least for our market, we advertised often. Robert and I did, my business partner, that we were relocation specialists, corporate relocation specialists, because most of the moves, inbound and outgoing on the higher end, if they were coming from out of state or going out of state, were corporate directed. People moved because they had to. People moved because they took a new job and they had to move to a new place. What we're seeing since COVID is that people move because they want to. When you're in the luxury, dealing with the luxury home market, buyers and sellers oftentimes don't have to do anything. They do what
That's
they
right.
want to do. And so that's one of the things you have to remind ourselves in the luxury home market. Yeah, the sales may be slower, but when someone really wants to move, they move. And although they may be a cash buyer, and they don't need a particular interest rate, to buy a home, they still those things still influence decisions. They're watching other markets. They're watching what the economy is doing, obviously. But when it comes particularly to principal residences, primary residences, people do what they want to do. We're not as much subject to interest rates and some of those economic factors. And I'll give you a very good example specifically tied to the sale you referenced
Mhm.
that we closed last week. It was an $8 million sale. And I want to share this with our listeners. That's not our typical sale by any means. And we've been slow here in Nashville, just like most places in the country have been slow, really since I would say since probably July of this year. Just kind of, we have two markets this year: the market for the first two quarters and the market for the last two quarters, like two entirely different markets. So we've been,
Absolutely.
yeah, so we've been slower like everybody else. But when we put that home in the market, it's interesting because there really weren't strong comps to say this is what this home is worth. We felt like the home was worth 8 million. Our seller felt like it was worth 8 million, and the seller had that much in the home. But at the end of the day, whether or not it would appraise, we weren't really sure. And quite frankly, on that particular transaction, it was a cash transaction, but the buyer chose to get an appraisal. It didn't appraise. And I talked to the seller about it, and we said, you know what? Here's the deal. Just like I said a few minutes ago, buyers in this price range, yeah, they'd like something to appraise, and I think they want to know kind of where things are at a moment in time. But they understand this residence at $8 million is like every other part of every other market. It ebbs and it flows. So even though it didn't appraise, we didn't reduce the pricing. We didn't offer to reduce the pricing. We said simply, okay, I understand you got this appraisal. What would you like to do, Mr. Buyer? And the buyer said, hey, we're moving forward. Of course, they would love to have the seller reduce the pricing, but we didn't, and they moved forward anyway. Because again, in this market, luxury buyers and sellers get to do pretty much what they want to do. And if it's your primary home, you want to get it.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the things that really has been true in the upper tier, that it's so much less about brick and mortar and um, more about lifestyle and about what they want, right? What they're
Yeah, my,
driven
my
by.
Yeah, my client actually made a really good point when we were having this discussion about lifestyle. He said he's an art collector. He and his wife are art collectors, and he said, when we purchase art, we often have our art appraised. We want to know what our portfolio is valued at. It's not to say, oh, we love this sculpture or we love this oil painting, and we're not going to go through with the purchase because the appraisal value is not there. We love it. We're buying it. We want it to be part of our home. But at the same time, they realize this is a big investment. We want to just kind of know where it stands in relation to other pieces. And I think real estate's just like that. But they want a certain lifestyle, and they want what they want.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. So let me get us talking about mindset, right? So we've addressed the need to drill down a little bit from the major media messaging, but how do we as real estate professionals keep a positive attitude and a positive mindset when that messaging is out there just pounding at people? And how do we share that positive mindset and good information with our clients and our sphere of influence?
I think it's important, first and foremost, that we have a positive mindset, period, like a general positive mindset. And we accomplish that in different ways, even before we get to the messaging. And I think this is really different for everybody. Some people find that positive mindset, in their faith, in their quiet time. And, when you're so busy, when the market's on fire and it's so busy, it's hard to find quiet time. When the market's so crazy busy, like it's been for several years, up until again around July, at least for our market, it's hard to take a family vacation and really relax. There's a lot of things that we can do now because the market is quieter that we can take advantage of to get ourselves centered and refocused so that when we deliver the message to our clients, we deliver the message from a point of peace, and a point of understanding and not a point of desperation. Because if you live in the moment at all times, you can get rattled pretty easily. Again, going back to, I always think about going back to '08. For the luxury market, and we were working the luxury market then too, the general real estate market slowed down. The luxury real estate market shut off as if someone had
Yes.
certainly just turned the water off. It just like the phones are ringing, everything was great. And then one day you woke up and the phones didn't ring anymore. And it really, it shook us. It rattled us. But having gone through that experience, we know what that looks like now. And we know it comes back. So as I sit here, we know the market's going to come back. And so we take advantage of this time to get centered, to get a hold of our business and do the things that we don't have time to do as much or enjoy as much when the market's crazy. And so this has been a wonderful time to, again, I know you asked about the message to our clients, but I like to back it out and talk about how to get in the right place before you even talk about a message. You need to be in the right space. And I think that's what we've tried to accomplish over the last few months is just getting in the right space.
That's brilliant, right? I totally didn't expect you to go down that path, but it's absolutely right. And we have not had a minute to breathe in a while. So that personal centering is super important. And also I think that allows us to have a better approach to business planning, right? To think about what our strategy is going forward into the year ahead. What kind of business do we want to go after, and how are we going to do it? Right. This past December, it was a fabulous time for really re-engaging the business plan. And honestly, looking back at what the business plan looked like for 2022 was so influenced by that frenzy. It was
Yes.
very different than getting back to a holistic plan that was strategic instead of responsive. So on both avenues there, I think that's important. So how do you stay in touch with your sphere of influence and your clients? So I think the messaging is kind of the underlying thing of us really having a grip on it. But what kind of vehicles do you use?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I want to say before I answer, when I tell you how we stay in touch, I'm not recommending to our listeners, this is how you should stay in touch because everybody does it differently. One thing I will tell you is I know a lot of our colleagues in other markets, particularly larger markets, have a really, really large sphere of influence. And that's their comfort level and that's their wheelhouse and the way they operate. Robert and I, again, we've done this for a long time, but we've always maintained a fairly modest sphere of influence. So, at any point in time, we never have more than, I would say, probably 300 to 500 people in our sphere of influence. We're constantly massaging that database and trying to keep it to the people that we know there's future business or confident there's future business, people that we want to conduct future business with and we have great relationships with. It's a very real estate, no matter what level you're playing in, what part of the market you're playing in, but certainly true of the luxury market. It's a relationship business. And for me, it's much easier to maintain a personal relationship where I can look down, if I have a physically printed list or looking on the screen at our database, when I look at names on the screen, I know who they are. I know who they are. I know where they live. I know who their kids are. I know where their kids go to school. and I know I've had contact with them recently. So we keep that personal relationship. We try to continue to strengthen that personal relationship. One of the things we did last year for the first time, and we did it much bigger this year, which and I'm going to do it bigger next year, which has been so fun. About 4 or 5 years ago, I ordered a wreath for myself, for our family, from a company, a well-known luxury company, and we paid, I think, a couple $100s for this wreath. It was beautiful, and pictures came in. It was not pretty in person.
Oh
But that
no.
same, no, it was not pretty. But that same year, one of our clients, one of our friends and clients, sent us a wreath, and I'll throw a plug for them. LL Bean, they had the best wreaths I promise you can ever get, and they're very affordable. They sent us a wreath from LL Bean, and it was absolutely wonderful. And I said, you know what? Next year, I want to send wreaths like this to some of our top clients. And so we did. Last year, we sent quite a few of them. Everybody loved the wreaths. They talked about the wreaths for months after we would see them at other events and other venues. They would talk about that wreath and how long it lasted, and made them think of us. And it was so special. So this year, we committed to doing a couple hundred wreaths, and which is a pretty large expenditure.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did the wreaths, and we have gotten so many calls, video calls, messages, even our most hardcore business clients who it's kind of hard to have that personal relationship with, took the time to sit down and send this message. Hey, man, we really love this wreath. Thank you so much. And so, I've never been one. I've never been that agent who put the flags out on 4th of July, the pumpkins out for Halloween. We've never been into. I've always felt that was kind of cheesy. That's just me. Sorry, but this just felt much more personal and just had an air of class about it. So I think with the wreaths, the reason we've chosen that avenue for this time of year is because there's a few things. One, we've all often heard this, and it's so true. People remember how you made them feel. People remember how you make them feel. They may not remember the particular circumstance, but they remember how they felt. And that's what we're going for. We want to continue that relationship, maintain and build that relationship, and we want them to feel it. And so sending the wreaths seems to be a way to really accomplish that. And so we'll do that.
I love that. I love that thoughtfulness, right? Because it's not about just something for the sake of something. It's something that's meaningful. And I know we look at the whole year ahead and think about what we're going to do a year ahead.
Yeah.
And it includes those opportunities for touching people, taking our clients to a performance of the orchestra, or we have movies in the park, right? And we think about small groups of our clients that we can bring together for those things that really are a meaningful touch. But I like the fact that you really are focusing on having a quality sphere of influence that you can really manage, and that they're people that you'd like to work with again, right?
Yeah.
That's a great thing to be able to give yourself permission for that. And one of the things certainly that we teach in training is really identify what it is that you want to focus on, rather than trying to be all things to all people, especially in the upper tier. So, do you send a newsletter or any type of written communication?
We don't. We have done newsletters in the past. We've done now written communication. Yes, we do mailers like a lot of brokers do in all price ranges, and certainly the luxury home market. So we do a certain degree, or to a certain degree, we do mailers throughout the year promoting properties, promoting things happening in the industry, promoting things happening in our town. It just depends. But again, it's just a way to have that physical touch and make some sort of contact. So we do physical mailers. We don't do email distribution or email messages because, years ago, people didn't want to get junk mail, but they were finally getting emails. Or at some point in time, that flipped, and they don't mind getting mail, physical mail, but they don't want their email clogged up.
Right?
So
You're absolutely right.
yeah, so we don't want to contribute to we feel like it's contributing to another problem. So we don't send emails out. Now, when clients ask us things, of course we send emails to them. And a lot of times our printed postcards will say, if you'd like more information, shoot us a text, email us, and we'll send you, whatever. So I tell you, the way we communicate with our clients most frequently is there are several avenues. One is social media platform.
Hmm.
For the luxury home market, and we look at most of our database, our clients, most of them are in a certain age range, which we fall in. And if they're on social media, they're typically on Facebook. So using our primary social media platform, Facebook is a terrific way to stay in contact with the vast majority of our clients. and with that media. And that's wonderful because for us, again, it's not necessarily the business aspect of that platform, it's the personal side. So for example, our header photo, the cover photo for Facebook, is always something of a real estate, architecture, landscape topic. And we pull sometimes photos of our current listings. It could be photos of kitchens or bathrooms or gardens, or it could be something I pull from some other market as a conversational topic because it's top of mind with all of our clients who are logged on there. It's not in your face real estate. How's the market? Let me tell you how the market is, or are you considering buying or selling? It's not the in your face. It's more top of mind. We're talking about luxury real estate. So it's not just any real estate, it's luxury homes, second homes, beach homes, gardens, these sorts of things. So top of mind.
Yep.
And then we do, as I was going to say, and so so it's in the context of they're hearing personal things about our family in that platform in Facebook. But I don't ever do anything with religion. I don't do anything with politics.
Yep. The golden rules.
Yep. But if it's something to do with real estate, that is luxury real estate, and it's never in your face. It's always subtle but engaging. And that's what we try to do is engage as many people on a given topic. And sometimes it's controversial. It's funny that something as simple as the mantle chosen for Christmas display becomes a topic of controversy. But you never know.
And so don't even get me started on countertop materials, right?
Right. Oh, exactly. And then I think the other thing for us, and again, this is how it works. This is what works well for us is you'll never see me sit down and do a call-a-thon where I just start calling one client after the next. Some people do that really well. They do it routinely and it works really well for them. I would describe our style as more random acts of kindness. I see something on the internet that reminds me of a client, a photo of a short video. It might be luxury, it might be real estate related, or it might just be something that reminds me of them and their family. I'll take that video and I'll shoot it over to them in a text message. Hey guys, I haven't talked to you in a while. How are you enjoying your outdoor living area? The pool is wonderful, I'm sure. Take a look at this. It's just something random, and it lets them know that I'm thinking about them. And it also lets them know, because the way that it comes across, this is not a call-a-thon. It was, I was driving by your home, or I saw this as I was scrolling the net, that I was thinking about them.
So it's authentic.
Yes,
right?
that's the word.
That's what it's saying to me. And I follow you on social media, so I see the kind of posts that you're talking about. And again, that posting is authentic. It's really sharing who you are. So I think that's an important takeaway here, that if we look for the opportunities to make connections that aren't sales pitches, then I think that also gives people the opportunity to ask about the market. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you keep real estate top of mind, and we're talking about luxury real estate, so it's very easy to do that in a way that's really interesting. So even in my even in my sphere of influence, if you will, in social media, everybody who's engaged in social media with me, they're not luxury clients, and some of them will never be luxury clients. That's okay. But the reality is, I think most anybody is fascinated by beach homes, by yachts,
Agreed.
by luxury lifestyle, even if it's not their lifestyle. And for those that is their lifestyle, it's particularly engaging because they're paying attention to what's happening with markets. They're interested in trends, architectural trends and design trends. They love to hear what's in and what's out. I have a trend, by the way. Do you want to hear about it?
Oh, yes.
Okay, this is my Jack Miller prediction, and you guys can argue with me all day long, but I'm predicting it right here. We had a party back in the summer, and our home is about 10 years old or so. And we have one of those little small mini bars that you often see between a kitchen and a formal dining room. They're horrible. You can't work in them. The light's not good. There's not enough space to work in. And so we set up our formal living room as a bar for that party. And we brought a caterer in and a bartender and all that sort of thing. And it worked wonderfully. They walked right in the front door by the formal living room to the bar. They got the signature drink. They walked through the home, out to the backyard, to our garden area. And it worked really well. And I said, we have this beautiful formal living room that nobody ever sits in. And the only time we pay it any attention is at a party, or actually most of the time we pay attention really is at Christmas. There's a Christmas tree in there,
right.
And there is right now. But the rest of the year, we just walk by it and look at it and say, wow, that's pretty. And we walk right on by. We are converting our formal living room into a bar. And so the back wall of the formal living room is becoming upper cabinets, glass front, lit from underneath, so that liquor bottles, wine bottles, whatever, are nicely lit. Actually, not wine bottles, all liquor bottles on top. And
Hmm.
then the lower bar, all cabinetry, solid front cabinetry with an ice maker and a beverage cooler. And then further out in the room, closer to you when you walk into the room, is a physical piece of furniture that's the bar. The reason we did it that way is because if we sell our home and the next buyer is not intrigued by the bar, it becomes an office. There's no sink. There's no wet area in that bar.
I see.
So you simply take the physical bar piece of furniture away, and all the shelving and cabinetry on the back wall lends itself to an office. So we haven't, made it functionally obsolete for the next consumer. But now this bar actually is being finished as we speak in the next couple of weeks. Now, when we have get-togethers, we have people getting together in that area casually to grab a drink, family, friends, whatever, while something else is happening in the kitchen and we're not on top of each other. So that's my prediction. I will see. I think formal living rooms are going to become home bars.
Okay. I'm going to take
My
that a little
prediction.
further, and I will say formal living rooms are going to become other purposes.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I think that's a great prediction. I love that.
Let's see.
So let's talk for just a couple of minutes as we wind down about how we might encourage sellers to come on the market. Right? There's this fear that's been in place for the last couple of years that there wouldn't be any place to go, and now there's the conversation about prices have fallen, you missed the opportunity to sell. Are you having any of those conversations with folks that have been thinking about it, or anything that you want to share about how we might communicate with those high-end sellers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're exactly right because our clients are hearing those messages all over the country. They're hearing the national news, the local news, whatever media they tune into, and in many cases, it's making or causing some reluctance, if you will, about putting their home on the market. So we in some cases we try baby steps, and so we talk about let's bring this luxury home to the market in an off-market capacity initially, and that does a couple of things. One, it takes away that whole wall of fear that they're jumping into the water, so that it's an off-market listing. So if they change their mind, it's not being broadcast on the MLS. It's not on realtor.com and Zillow and Trulia, and all their neighbors aren't going buzzing about them moving, yada, yada. So they kind of put their toe in the water. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that by doing that, they are making a certain degree of commitment and moving forward.
Mm,
And so by doing that, they're moving forward and they're getting in the mindset of we're going to move. And so now you're having these regular conversations about which buyers are interested in seeing their home,
right.
and we all know what happens with off market listings and how to market those, and utilizing our resources, other colleagues within the company, colleagues at other firms. um, and so it kind of moves them in that direction. And then what I find is when you do the off market approach, there's a couple things. One allows the seller to test market certain pricing strategies that aren't committed in writing. So they're not being recorded in an MLS history. They're not being recorded in a Zillow
Right.
history. And so you test market that listing and you see how that goes. But then oftentimes we're finding that that's very same seller, having done that, is more inclined to move forward to more of a broad mass market traditional listing, traditional luxury listing once they've done the off market approach. It kind of helps them take a baby step, if you will.
That's really outstanding advice, and something that I'm going to take to heart. Absolutely, particularly for those higher end folks who may not want to make that commitment. So I hope that all of our listeners out there got some good ideas on that one. One big thing that you're going to do in 2023 that maybe you haven't done before.
That's a good one. Well,
Put you on the spot there.
yeah. You know, I wouldn't necessarily call it 2023. I would just make it broader to say in the future. Most of my real estate career, our business plan is always how to build our business and grow our business. And obviously, we're not opposed to our business growing, but we've reached a point. My business partner is 8 years older than I am. And so we have friends of ours in the industry who are saying, "Hey, when are you guys going to retire?" It's like, we're not retiring. We don't have a retirement plan. And I jokingly tell people my retirement plan is sell less and less until I die.
Mm. Ah,
So
I see. I see.
so it's not the 2023 plan per se, but I think moving forward in general, one of our plans is how to do the best quality business. It's about, you know, we say at Parks Realty, our goal is to have a magnificent life. That's our mantra for our firm. And even before our firm adopted that sort of uh, mantra, is that's been our focus all along. Our focus has not been how to be number one. We love to be number one. We love to be a top tier broker, and we love to make the top 10 or whatever. Who doesn't? You know, but our goals have changed, and it's more about dealing with the clients we have those relationships with, how to have the life we want. And so our goal is, how do we do more things with our family, more vacations, more bucket list, things, the things that are fun, more experiences, and at the same time conducting business in a way that is consistent with our brand. And we take our brand in the marketplace very seriously. And so, yeah, we did 100 million last year. We did a lot less this year, but our off year is a really, really good year. We made a tremendous income this year, and it's not about the income any longer. It's not about the making the top 10. It's about the magnificent life. And
Well,
that's our
I
goal.
think that is just a fantastic summation of where we wanted to be in terms of talking about taking advantage of the opportunities in a changing market, really focusing on what's important to us. So I'm really glad that you shared that. And so our time is up for this episode. And I want to thank everybody for joining in on this episode of A State of Mind, the Art of Selling Luxury Real Estate. If you're interested in learning more about the Institute, you can find out at luxuryhomemarketing.com. And if you like what you just heard, please share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Thanks for listening.